Welcome back to English Literature class. I am in session 4 of the story A Horse and Two Goats. Just to recall, we are introduced to the red-faced foreigner who had entered the story when Muni, sitting at the foot of the statue, was waiting for the right time to head back home. The new sort of the vehicle that the foreigner came in could be seen as symbolic of a new culture represented by the West. The American was represented as a typical wealthy person as opposed to Muni, an Indian villager. The foreigner, running short of fuel, expecting to find a gas station nearby, assumed Muni as the owner of the horse statue from the way Muni sat on its pedestal. The American tells Muni of the day when there was a power failure and he had to spend 4 hours without air conditioner. The West, represented by the foreigner, is ignorant of the fact that poverty, hunger, bad weather are everyday troubles of the East, that is India. Language acts as the barrier between Muni and the American. Let us read further. I am on page 60 in your treasure trove textbook. Hope you have a copy of it in front of you. Muni looked reflective at the end of this long oration and said rather feebly, yes, no, as a concession to the other's language, and went on in Tamil. When I was this high, he indicated a foot high, I had heard my uncle say. Now Muni looked reflective. He was thinking, probably he was thoughtful at the end of this long oration, long speech given by the American, and he said rather feebly in a weak voice, low voice, he says, yes, no, as a concession, as a compromise to the other's language. Other's language, that is English. And he went on in his own tongue, that is Tamil, and he started saying, when I was this high, he was referring to that as when he was that tall. When he was that tall, he indicated a foot high, a foot, he was showing that, indicating probably through his hands and saying, when I was this tall, I heard my uncle say. So, continuing with the next part of the story, no one can tell what he was planning to say as the other interrupted him at this stage to ask, boy, what is the secret of your teeth? How old are you? So now no one knew what Muni was planning to say. And as the other here refers to the American, interrupted. He intervenes, he cut short his conversation and all of a sudden asks, boy, what is the secret of your teeth, man? How come? How old are you? Probably he was seeing his teeth. Probably it was which was suggestive of healthiness. That's why he was asking, how old are you? Though you look so old, you have all your teeth. Muni forgot what he had started to say and remarked, sometimes we too lose our cattle. Jackals or cheetahs may sometimes carry them off, but sometimes it is just theft from over in the next village, and then we will know who has done it. A priest at the temple can see in the camphor flame the face of the thief, and when he is caught, he gestured with his hands a perfect mincing of meat. Now, when the foreigner asked Muni, how old are you? He is not following what the foreigner is saying. So he continues. He just forgot what he had started. Abruptly, he starts now. Sometimes we lose our cattle. So this is probably one of the reasons why Muni's fortune had come down, we could say. So this is how they would lose their cattle. Jackals or cheetahs sometimes would carry them off, and sometimes probably because somebody would rob those flock of sheep or goats. That is how they would lose their cattle. So it was just theft from over in the next village, and then we will know who has done it. So sometimes to find out who the robber is, we would go to our priest. Who is the priest? I think all of you know. We say pujari or a purohit, who does the religious duty and worship the deity sincerely because he has its extended knowledge, isn't it? So they go to these villagers go to the priest at the temple, and the priest, with his power, since he had that extraordinary power because he was serving God, probably that is how he is seen. So he would see in the camphor flame, camphor, I think all of you know what camphor is. It has an aromatic smell. In that flame, he could see the face of the thief. And when he is caught, suppose the thief is caught, he is saying, now, this Muni, who is uneducated and illiterate, was a superstitious person. This tells that due to the power of the priest, they could just recognize the culprit. And this is how they would predict. That is what Muni is saying this to the foreigner. So once the culprit is caught, he gestured with his hands a perfect mincing of meat. The way how the meat is minced, in the same way, if the culprit is caught, definitely he will be thrashed and he will be punished. That is what he meant. He showed that to the foreigner using his hands probably. He's showing it how a meat is minced. In the same way, the person will also be minced. Moving on to the next few lines. The American watched his hands intently and said, I know what you mean. Chop something? Maybe I'm holding you up and you want to chop wood? Where is your axe? Hand it to me and show me what you chop. I do enjoy it, you know, just a hobby. We get a lot of driftwood along the backwater near my house, and on Sundays I do nothing but chop wood for the fireplace. I really feel different when I watch the fire in the fireplace, although it may take all the sections of the Sunday New York Times to get a fire started. And he smiled at his reference. Now, here, listen, children. It is very ironical that the language which has been devised by the humans to communicate becomes a barrier between Muni and the American. Their difference in the different languages or their difference in language do not let them understand each other. They converse, though in reality, they are both speaking on unrelated subjects. It is through their dialogues the author R.K. Narayan has expressed the conflict between East and West. So you could see that clearly in this. So now American here is talking about when he sees Muni showing that hands mincing, he thinks that he has something else to do. So probably he has to chop the food. Am I holding your time? Am I holding you back? Am I wasting your time? You want to chop your wood? Where is your axe? Show me your axe. Even I do enjoy it, because he says during the Sundays, even he would do the same, because he would get lot of driftwood. What is driftwood? Driftwood means these pieces of wood, children, will be floating on the sea and washed ashore. So these driftwood, he would chop and use it for the fireplace. Fireplace, I think all of you know what a fireplace is. This is a must in Western houses, children. It is a hearth, you could say, because it's extremely cold. Everybody compulsorily, they have this hearth or a fireplace. So that the foreigner says that I really feel different when I watch the fire in the fireplace. That means he's very happy because of its warmth and the comfort he gets because of the fireplace. So here the foreigner uses this fireplace as comfort and luxury, whereas for Muni, the same fire, how is he used? These sticks is used only for the source of fuel. The fireplace is used only for cooking food. So he says, although it may take all the sections of the New York Times, that is the newspaper, he says he has to roll them up, dry newspaper, he has to use it to lit the flame. Though he uses all the sections of the newspaper, he doesn't mind, but he wants the fireplace burning. and he smiled at this reference. He himself is just thinking about it. Moving on, Muni felt totally confused but decided the best thing would be to make an attempt to get away from this place. So Muni didn't know what to do. He was totally confused. He was not following what the foreigner was saying. So the best thing to do is he thought he should escape from that place. He tried to edge out. He thought he should sneak out from that place. He started saying, must go home, and turned to go. He told to the foreigner that he needs to go back home. The other seized his soldier and said, the other seized his shoulder and said desperately, is there no one, absolutely no one here to translate for me? He looked up and down the road, which was deserted in this hot afternoon. The stranger almost pinioned Muni's back to the statue and asked, isn't this statue yours? Why don't you sell it to me? Now, as Muni wanted to go back home, the other here refers to the foreigner. Seized is holding him. All of a sudden, he just grabs by his shoulder and says desperately, oh my God, is there anyone to just translate me? I'm not following what he's saying. He just looks up here and there, but looks at the road, which was deserted. Nobody was there. It was an abandoned street. In this hot afternoon, nobody else would be there. The stranger, almost pinioned, once again is holding Muni's back towards the statue and questions him, is this statue yours? Why don't you sell it to me? Now, definitely, you are the owner of this. Are you not going to sell this to me? He questions. Let us see what Muni has to answer for this. The old man now understood the reference to the horse, thought for a second, and said in his own language, I was an urchin this high when I heard my grandfather explain this horse and warrior, and my grandfather himself was this high when he heard his grandfather, whose grandfather he began. Now Muni now just understood that the foreigner is talking about the horse. He got to know that because he was looking at the horse, he got to know that there is some reference to the horse, and he started, oh, probably this foreigner wants to know more about the horse. So he started narrating in his own language, that is in Tamil. I was an urchin, a young poor child, this high, this tall, when I heard my grandfather explain. So when I was this young or when I was this tall, I heard my grandfather talking about this horse and warrior. And to my grandfather, he had been narrated by his grandfather, by his grandfathers. He was just saying. So this tells that the horse statue had been there since many generations. We get an idea that this was there since many years. The other interrupted him. I don't want to seem to have stopped here for nothing. I will offer you a good price for this, he said, indicating the horse. The other man, the foreigner, interrupted. He cut short his conversation and said, I don't want to seem to have stopped here for nothing. So it should here, when I have stopped here, it should be useful. I'm not going to waste my time here. I shouldn't be wasting my time here simply at all stopping. So I will offer you a good price, indicating the horse. So the foreigner is very much interested in the horse. He had concluded without the least doubt that Muni owned this mud horse. Perhaps he guessed by the way he sat on its pedestal like other souvenir sellers in this country, presiding over their wares. Now Muni was sitting at the pedestal of the horse statue. So this made the foreigner think that he was the owner. So he thinks that he resembled the souvenir seller. Souvenirs, these mementos they sell, isn't it, on the roadside or any place of visit. If you go, you can see these sellers' children. You can see that in the picture also. So he thought that definitely like souvenir sellers, how they sit next to their mementos. Similarly, he was also sitting on the pedestal. So probably this would be Muni's. That is how he came to a conclusion. Muni followed the man's eyes and pointing fingers and dimly understood the subject matter, and feeling relieved that the theme of the mutilated body had been abandoned, at least for the time being, and said again enthusiastically, I was this high when my grandfather told me about this horse and the warrior, and my grandfather was this high when he himself. Now Muni's eyes followed the foreigner's eyes. That is, the foreigner was looking at the statue of the horse. So he knew now his interest is of the horse. So he was at time relieved. For a moment he was relieved. Regarding what? He was relieved that the theme of the mutilated body, that is regarding the murder. So the topic is not regarding the murder. It is shifted towards the statue. So he feels quite happy. So he enthusiastically, excitedly once again starts the same story which he was narrating earlier. So when I was this tall, so he began. So let us see what happens next. The Tamil that Muni spoke was stimulating, even as pure sound, and the foreigner listened with fascination. I wish I had my tape recorder here, he said, assuming the pleasantest expression. So the oldest, that is the Tamil, which Muni, the language which Tamil he was speaking, was the oldest language in the world, children. Tamil seems to be the oldest language, and it's a very beautiful language. So Tamil, which Muni was speaking, stimulated, aroused the foreigner's interest because of the accent. He was fascinated. He was fascinated, and he says, "Oh, how I wish I had my tape recorder. If I had a tape recorder, definitely I would have recorded your speech." He said, assuming the pleasantest expression. So that was shown on his face. Your language sounds wonderful. I get a kick out of every word you utter here. He indicated his ears, but you don't have to waste your breath in sales talk. I appreciate the article. You don't have to explain its points. So once again, he says, your language is wonderful. I get a kick. I'm enjoying every word of what you are uttering here. And indicating is showing to his ears, and he says that what you're saying I'm following, but why are you wasting your time unnecessarily? You need not waste your time in sales talk. Sales talk, you need not promote your product. What is the product? The horse statue. Anyway, I have already appreciated your statue. You need not waste your time in this advertisement or promoting your product. You don't have to explain its point. This is what the foreigner says. Moving on. I never went to school. In those days, only Brahmin went to schools. But we had to go out and work in the fields morning till night, from sowing to harvest time. And when Pongal came, we had cut the harvest. My father allowed me to go out and play with others at the tank. And so I don't know the Parangi language you speak. Even little fellows in your country probably speak the Parangi language, but here only learned men and officers know it. So now Muni continues saying, he said, now we get to know that he is an illiterate, uneducated. In those days, only Brahmin went to school. So once again, the caste system which was prevalent in that era has been brought up through R.K. Narayan's story. So only Brahmin had the privilege to go to school. We had to go out and work in the fields from morning till night, from sowing to harvest time. So probably from June to when is the harvest time? That is January, Pongal. And when Pongal came, Pongal harvest time means that is the Pongal festival, children. You must have heard Sankranti we say. So the harvest festival. So till then he had to toil. So and when Pongal came, we had cut the harvest after reaping the crops. My father allowed me to go out. Only then he was allowed to play. After so many months, only after the harvest, he was allowed to play with his friends. And so he has not attended any school, and he also doesn't know the Parangi language. Parangi language, the foreign language here, reference to English. Even little fellows in your country probably speak the Parangi language there. All your tiny ones also speak in Parangi language. But here, only here in India, only learned men, that is educated men, literates and only officers know this language. This is how I don't know, because most of the time I was toiling out in the fields and I belong to the lower caste. The foreigner laughed heartily, took out another cigarette and offered it to Muni, who now smoked with ease, deciding to stay on if the fellow was going to be so good as to keep up his cigarette supply. Now the foreigner started laughing, took out a cigarette and offered to Muni, who now smoked with ease. Earlier, Muni was finding it difficult, he was coughing, but now he is very happy with that potent smoke. And earlier he wanted to move away from that place. Now he decides to stay on there only because he could get this cigarette supply frequently from the foreigner. And he also was enjoying this, isn't it? So he thought, let me stay here. It was very good that the fellow was offering him cigarettes. The American now stood up on the pedestal in the attitude of a demonstrative lecturer and said, running his finger along some of the carved decorations around the horse's neck, speaking slowly and uttering his words syllable by syllable. I could give a sales talk for this better than anyone else. This is a marvelous combination of yellow and indigo, though faded now. How do you people of this country achieve these flaming colors? Now, after offering a cigarette to Muni, now the American stands up on the pedestal as though he is giving a lecture to Muni. He just was pleased with the statue and wonderstruck with that. He was just looking at that carved decorations around the horse's neck and also running his finger through it, started speaking. He says, why are you wasting your time speaking? Earlier we know, why do you want to promote your sales? I already am amazed with your product. I could give a sales talk for this better than anyone else. Who do you want? I can promote this. This is a marvelous combination of yellow and indigo. So the color combination which was used on the horse statue is excellent, marvelous, wonderful, though faded now. Though it is faded now, it still remains marvelous. How do you people of this country, how do you manage to get such vibrant, such attractive, colorful colors? How are you successful in getting these? Flaming means vibrant, exceptionally very bright colors, he asks. Muni, now assured that the subject was still the horse and not the dead body, said, this is a guardian. It means death to our adversaries. At the end of Kali Yuga, this world and all the other worlds will be destroyed, and the Redeemer will come in the shape of a horse called Kalki. This horse will come to life and gallop and trample all bad men. Now Muni is very happy that the reference to the murder is stopped and is talking about the horse now. So he just goes on telling about the horse, whatever knowledge he has regarding that. He says, this is our guardian. The horse is our guardian. It guards us. It means death to our adversaries. That means it is death to our opponents. At the end of Kali Yuga means, I think you know in Hinduism, children, Kali Yuga is the last of the 4 stages the world goes through as a part of a cycle of yugas. The other yugas you must have heard, the Satya Yuga, the Tretya Yuga and the Dwapara Yuga. This is the Kali Yuga, or the last one we say. So at the end of this Yuga, this world and all the other worlds will be destroyed. This world means the earth as well as the other worlds, probably the hell and heaven, all will be destroyed. And the Redeemer, the Savior, God, will come in the shape of a horse called Kalki Avatar. You must have heard, children. Kalki Avatar, God will come in the shape of that. And this horse will come to life. This statue, which is now made of clay, will come into life when God takes over and gallop. This horse will come into life and gallop and trample down all bad men. So once this horse gets life, it is going to trample, squash, crush every bad men in a country. Moving on. While he was brooding on this pleasantest vision, the foreigner utilized the pause to say, I assure you that this will have the best home in the USA. I will push away the bookcase. You know I love books and I am a member of 5 book clubs, and the choice and bonus volumes mount up to a pile really in a living room as high as this horse itself. Now, while Muni is talking about the importance of the horse, the foreigner is talking about how he can keep the horse at his house. So while he was brooding, while Muni was brooding, that is thinking about this pleasant vision, talking about the Kalki avatar, he was just imagining all that. The foreigner utilized the pause. This pause he utilized for him to speak. What is that he says? He says, this I assure, definitely this horse will get a best place in my house. Now I will push away. There is a huge bookcase in my house. I'm going to push all that. You know, I am an ardent lover of books. I'm a member of 5 book clubs and I have a huge bookshelf. I am going to just push away that bookshelf because it is mounted up with so many books. It's piled up with books because there are a lot of books. Even the bonus volumes, the gifted books also are there among that. Once the horse takes its place, I'm going to push away all this bookshelf, but they will have to go. Definitely the books along with the case has to be moved for this horse to be accommodated there. Ruth may disapprove. Ruth, wife, may disapprove, but I will convince. But he says definitely his wife is going to disapprove, but I will convince her. Muni continued his description of the end of the world. Our Pandit discoursed at the temple once how the oceans are going to close over the earth in a huge wave and swallow us. This horse will grow bigger than the biggest wave and carry on its back only the good people and kick into the floods the evil ones. Plenty of them about, he said reflectively. Do you know when it is going to happen? He asked. Now Muni wants to continue with the story. He continues, our Pandit, that is our priest, discoursed, preached once in the temple, saying that all the oceans are going to close over the earth in a huge way. So we will have this huge wave is going to be very, very huge, that it is going to swallow us, swallow all the people. Once this happens, this horse will grow bigger than the biggest wave. It will grow very big and carry on its back only the good people, and all the bad ones will be thrashed or pushed into the ocean, will be kicked into the ocean. There will be plenty of evil ones in this world, he said, think reflectively. And do you know what it is going to happen? He asked. Muni says. Now I think I'm going to stop here, children. We will continue the story in my next video. Thank you.